The meditation is simple. It is to leave the mind as it already is. Unfortunately, we've gotten ourselves very confused about who we are and how we function in this world, and consequently, even how we might aspire to be. Neither religion nor capitalism help, and unfortunately they define a lot of who we have been and who we have been becoming. These two influences under scrutiny might not have been all bad, but in regards to this inquiry, they certainly contribute a considerable amount to our entrapment and ignorance. It is the case today that a person is likely to grow up with particular presumptions that will restrict their chances of experiencing and fully realizing profound contentment. The shift in paradigm which has largely eluded us to this day, and that we should endeavour to integrate into ourselves going forward, has until late been most readily determinable among Eastern meditation traditions and some niche Western derivatives. This elusive but invaluable correction that has really been retrieved from Buddhist traditions is to come to get to know the nature of one's conscious experience, withstanding the constant changes and fluctuations, prior to conceptualization. Although it is not currently our normative proclivity, this is something we can all do, and in fact, it is actually supremely natural. For existing is actually already, most fundamentally, the non-conceptual and non-dualistic spontaneous cognizance of sensations. This even includes thoughts as sensations which can be recognized as unseparated from our most fundamental experiential expression. If we could just leave the mind as it already is in this natural state, we would experience the alleviation of all our concepts about being, which although we take pride in, are evidently bluffs and snares from the pristine, effortless and freedom of being that we can and really should aspire to. Only a fool rejects that which might be possible on the premise of what they're used to, before comprehending in all fairness what's on offer and its advantages. Beyond the religion and capitalism I have identified here, some eclectic genius might produce a more detailed picture of all the causes and conditions of the habitual predicament we inherit, which is the barrier to radical meditation. What I can confess is that I do remember something personal of the formation of my dualistic self. I feel as though I can remember when my thoughts weren't yet inside or attached to me. There was only instinct and seamless reactions to systems I wasn't yet apart from. And I feel I can remember that the language which defines our separation came down upon me gradually, and afterward my nature. The concepts, the linguistic thoughts used to be out there in the space of and as a part of my total conscious environment or being. I was a lot smaller back then, and I remember as I grew, people would always look at my eyes and they would identify me up to the limits of my physical body. Of course, the physical sensations that appeared at the perimeters of my physical body did have meaning on their own. But if in a much more limitless and free flow of conscious being, a particular point in space and time, and a particular agent for questions is repeatedly taken to be responsible, again and again, amongst what honestly strikes me as a much more continuous field, then one naturally begins to lose sight of the field. I don't believe we need to raise our children losing sight of such apparent and abundant complexity. But it was always my name. I was always to blame, and it was always my fault. Behind my head and behind my eyes, my dualistic sense of self was soon created. Myself was the agent and significant focus of all the fates I witnessed. This construct makes profound meditation unintuitive. You can proceed with this contrived concept of self and experience many of the happy benefits this otherwise radically transformative inquiry is often minimized to. Or you can start to notice that your conscious experience is already free from the problem, which is just the habit of continually being lost in thought and conceptualizing what it is like to be you as a matter of first-hand conscious experience. My advice is to approach meditation in the following direction: to become more sensitive about the nature of your conscious experience, to understand something fundamental about being you, and to endeavor to be without getting lost in your ideas about being. Meditation practice like this is all about training to let your natural, formless and open awareness maintain continuity. The only obstacle is unaware thinking and the many deceptive forms that it takes. It is the case that we get many exemplary fools who proclaim mastery over meditation, whilst they are quite apparently and dreadfully delusional about their capabilities. They are slaves to themselves, unawarely lost in their proceeding and momentary thoughts. We're just so compounded in this habit that we don't realize how much we zone out or become suspended in concrete imaginings of our transient nature. These two faults aren't so different, but I have found it useful to establish them so that one can more easily identify if they are no longer leaving their mind alone, or as it is. The most accessible solution here is to follow the traditional advice that can lead us to notice and sustain the absence of a self-concept. Training in concentration is the antidote for zoning out. Training in calm is the antidote for getting lost. Select a sensation that is easy for you to settle in your consciousness. If thoughts come or distractions happen, so be it, just don't forget the sensation of your object. If you do, come back to it. With more practice, it becomes much easier, and there are many discoveries and instructions to strengthen the glowing torch of your awareness, to remain in undistracted, awake naturalness. The truth is, I was fortunate enough to stumble upon this all perchance, walking one day. Given the shambolic state of the discourse this wisdom was kept behind, it took me more years to learn how to communicate effectively about this content than to actually touch it and integrate something of it into my own life. For me, it is actually obvious to see that when you sit in stillness, you're either distracted or lost, thinking about being or otherworldly affairs, or the pristine and perfect revelation of effortless cognizance and sensations is dawning in self-recognition with no evidence of the conventional sense of I. This is how free you may come to be in this lifetime. It is the most important thing I have ever learned, and notwithstanding a prevailing ethical science and compassion, we may yet come to recognize great perfection.